So if we look at values first, it's interesting, they've done at least 2 very global, very big studies to look at value sets with men and women. And what's actually come out of that is it's quite interesting in terms of there is a lot of similarity in terms of value sets between the genders, but equally there are some areas of very distinct difference. Now, because I'm talking about women, that's obviously what's up on the screen today. When you look at value sets with women, we tend to actually be far more people and connection focused. We're far more interested in the people around us, but equally we're far more influenced by the people around us as well. For anyone that wants the flip side, and again, this is all very top-line black and white for today, if women are more about people and connection in terms of their focus, men are more about power and status. So in terms of how we run organizations, how we run companies, hierarchies, the importance of who knows who, what their job is, and how you can help each other get to somewhere else, much more male in terms of value sets. Women are much more, how can I have people around me who actually have got my back, who are there as a support network? So kind of interesting, different there. Okay, number 2, communication. Nice little statistic here. In an average day, guys use about 8,000 words. Women, about 20,000 words. Now, is that down to the fact that us women just like to chatter more? Boys in the room, just don't answer that. Just smile at this point. The answer to that is actually no. The interesting thing is males and females fundamentally talk differently. So, for instance, if I was a bloke and having a conversation with Tony, it would be largely what we call short to the point information exchange. When women have a conversation, I'm now female and I have a conversation with Sally, we also do information exchange, but women twin track. So instead of just talking about and exchanging information, at the same time we're doing a whole load of non-verbal emotional connection or disconnection. Basically, bonding. So as a result, it's quite different, and women are actually using language and using a conversation to do much more. Now, I do sessions like this all the time, normally kind of big boardroom tables and stuff, and it's very interesting to watch the men and the women as they come in the room. So the guys come in, nobody's met me before. Oh yeah, give me a look up and down. Oh yeah, chick that's going to talk the chick stuff, great. Where's everyone sitting? Bit of hierarchy. Oh yeah, technology's working, great, thanks. Sit down, great. The women come into the room, and watch yourself, girls, next time you do this, and see if you're doing it. They will equally give me a look up and down. Probably won't say the chick that's going to do the chick stuff, but anyway. But subconsciously, what will then run through your mind is, do I like the look of her? You'll give me a look up and down, you'll clock what I'm wearing, the way I look, the way I stand, and you will very quickly make a decision, not just about me, but if you like me and if you want to work with me. Now, the anthropologists will tell you this is the way that our DNA has basically developed us and our kind of senses in order that we were able, in the good old caveman days, to actually suss out who was a supporter and who was potentially a threat. So there's a whole load of stuff, despite our brains are now centuries ahead of where they were, our brains are often, as the neuroscientists will tell you, are centuries out of date with the environments that we're living in. So that sort of, I need to suss out the people around me, is actually then really important. So one of the things that you'll see happening a lot with women, and it's interesting that you then need to mimic this in terms of what you're doing in communications, is there's a give and take in terms of that demonstration of commonality. So for instance, and I just happen to have 2 women sitting here, nothing to do with me, who are sitting next to each other, who both happen to be wearing pink. So I've got to just pick on you because of that. Now, I might, in another environment, say, oh, I love your pink top. Now, it's nearly impossible for a woman to get a compliment like that from another woman and not say something. So you might go, oh, thank you. If it's especially things like clothing, jewelry, etc., you'll also then go on and tell me something about it, especially jewelry. Oh, I got it in such and such a place. Now, and all the women are laughing because they're going, oh, shit, yeah, I do that. What that's actually about is, if we've got commonality over what we wear and what we like, we probably have commonality then on other areas. And we start to think, you know what, we probably do like each other and we can work together. So they're the sorts of things that science can actually teach you in terms of what you can actually be doing. The outtake for us in the room today should be, you can have the best message in the world, but it will be lost in translation if your tone and your language is actually off. So I wanted to do a real top line. We've spent over 13 years looking at all this sort of stuff, working with the scientific community, etc. And one of the things that comes out of it is there is overall a more male way and a more female way of talking. And I thought for a room of communicators that might be useful today. Command language is much more male. It's shortened to the point, that idea of I use less words in the day. So as a result, it tends to mean that the brand, as I will call it here, tends to be the lead versus spending a lot of time trying to involve the audience. It will be more assumptive in its tone, so it will tell you. Is this starting to sound a bit like what government quite often does? And then quite often, whether it means to or not, the tone and the language actually being used can be quite standoffish, and therefore there's less attempt, whether it's meant or not, to actually bond with the audience. So that's a more male, factual exchange that goes on in terms of ways of talking. What we call invitational language is a naturally more female way to talk. It invites the audience in. It starts to do that give and take and build up some bonds. It tends to be more suggestive in tone. If you want to look at a piece of copy and very quickly work out if it's more male or female, if it's got a lot of question marks in it, it's more suggestive and more invitational in its tone, and more likely to draw your audience in, male or female, interestingly. And it tends to be much more benefit-oriented and much less just about telling you facts and features. So real top-line stuff, we do whole training days on this, but just gives you a little bit of an idea. You don't have to use all one or all the other, but it is actually an important thing to understand that there are different ways to actually use language and copy.